Okay, welcome everybody. Let me just put this in presentation mode. Ooh. So we're so excited to have you guys here today. Sorry, we had a couple problems with Facebook as it was down for maintenance when we were supposed to start our Facebook Live. So Denny says it's Mercury in retrograde, so we're just going to chalk it up to that. But we're really excited to talk to you guys today about our presentation on retention and duplication and just our ability to serve everyone. And the reason why I think that this is so important is because honestly, you guys, I've been building this business for 9 years and I've learned a lot of things and I'm still learning new things daily. And oftentimes I'm learning so much from you as I've watched different skill sets, different personalities, different strengths, different weaknesses, different challenges, all building this business together. So along with building this business, as many of you know, I also am a busy mom. I've got 4 little kids. I have my husband. And so I very much so value efficiency in the work that we do. So John and I achieved Presidential Diamond about 4 years ago. And so what inspires me to continue to do this business is that I feel this huge sense of responsibility to continue to bless the lives of others in the way that my life has been blessed from doTERRA. And that's why I really want to talk a lot about duplication and retention, because I feel like so often we get started in this journey and there's people that maybe we enroll or maybe they say they want to build this business, but we don't actually serve them the way that we're meant to. And so they've got a kit of oils that's just sitting in their cabinet and they don't know how to use them and they don't get on LRP, or they host a class or two, but they weren't really successful and they don't feel like they have the right support. So they give up on their dream of creating a side income, or they really want to build this business and they try really hard, but so we just really want to make sure we're servicing all of these people in our business, because we talk a lot about building our pipeline, right? But if your pipeline has leaks in that pipe, then or if your bucket that you're filling with water has a hole in the bottom, then we can be working so incredibly hard. And I see a lot of people that are working and working, we're rolling. But if we've got that hole that everything is leaking through, then that pipeline is not going to be very effective. So after this, I want you to maybe talk to your leaders, maybe get on a call with your leaders and create an individual planning session around each one of your builders to determine what would help them most. How can you help better serve them so that they can create a solid pipeline? Everyone has different areas that they excel in or struggle in. There's different, some people might be really good at enrollments, but then really struggle getting people on LRP. So what areas can we really focus on in doing that? Or maybe we have people that, I've known some people that are great at enrolling, they're great at getting people on LRP, but they have no builders. And they'll simply say, I don't have any builders. Usually it goes back to confidence and maybe just having those conversations. So helping them bridge that gap to becoming that builder becoming, definitely, you want to be the builder that attracts other builders, but developing those builders and kind of appealing to them. So after we go over today's presentation on retention and duplication, I want you to kind of go through your team individually and kind of create some challenges. Do they need to focus on a wellness consult or lifestyle overview campaign? Do we need to get more people involved with having classes or events? Do we want to have them, do like a 30-day educational challenge, maybe oil camps or Facebook classes, any type of continuing education? I really want to kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we're going through our presentation today. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn the time over to Denny, who works with all of our marketing and our funnels and kind of helps us create that customer journey. And she's going to talk to you about really our customers and how we can make sure that we are supporting them for that long-term retention. Denny, are you there?
I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Melina, and thank you everybody for joining today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the customer journey. I like to actually call it the customer loyalty journey. And with this, you're going to create an intentional and caring path for your customers to experience your product build trust, and become an advocate. So basically, the end goal of the customer journey is you really want them to, be the herald of like, oh my gosh, this person is amazing. You have to talk to them. You really want them to become advocates for you. Obviously, we want to have them become sharers and builders. But if we're just looking at the customer loyalty journey, we really want them to know how to use the product, experience it, and then really want to just tell all their friends and family and even strangers on the street about how amazing you are and lead them back to you. Before I go into the components of an awesome customer loyalty journey, I want to talk about a couple of just overarching things you want to keep in mind when you're building that journey. The first one is segment. So as enrolling people, we all know we've got 3 different paths for people to go down. You've got your customers, your sharers, and your builders. Now, Amanda and Melina are going to talk a little bit more about the sharers and builders. I'm strictly going to be talking about the customer journey. So you want to segment. The reason you want to segment is you can overwhelm, like if somebody just wants to be a customer and they just want to use the product and they really want to know how to lean into natural solutions, you want to put things in front of them that are going to support that. If you start overwhelming them and talking to them about, building and sharing and inviting, that might actually turn them off and repel them. So just be really conscious of that. And you want to create those 3 different paths. The second one I want to talk about is authenticity. Authenticity is really just you being you. So you might have somebody that you look up to in doTERRA or your upline and think, wow, they're so great and amazing at this. And it's okay to pull components from other people, but you still want to internalize it and make it your own. People joined and they signed up with you and enrolled because you were you. So you want to carry your personality through. You might be quirky, you might be a soccer mom, really bring your personality and make it you. That really resonates with people. That's why they signed up with you, and that's why they want to continue to learn and grow from you. Cadence is the next piece I want to talk about. So throughout the journey, there's different things that you're going to empower and educate and put offers in front of them and maybe give them an opportunity to introduce, hey, would you like to share, or talk to them about a business opportunity. But these are things that you want to be careful of the cadence in which you offer them. For instance, an offer or an opportunity, you really want to do, or for asking for referrals, you only want to do that about 2 or 3 times a year. That's not something you want to do weekly or you want to do all the time. And another thing with cadence is if you ever ask a customer for something, you want to deliver value 2 to 3 times before you ask them to take any action. So whether that's educating them on the product or giving them a PDF or something really cool that you have in your arsenal or your assets, you want to do that before you ask them to do anything. That's just a really good practice to keep in mind. Value is another overarching piece I want to talk about, and that's just everything you do. Always think about, Melina brought up serving people. So you want to serve and bring value to them along their journey. And then finally, perspective. So a lot of times we're thinking about our goals and what we want to accomplish and how we want to grow our business. And, in marketing in general, a lot of times what you think your customer wants, a lot of times we're off base on that. The best thing to do is to step into the shoes of your customer. Remember back when you started this journey and you were a customer. What were the things that if you could go back and turn back time, maybe you would have wanted to have in the beginning of your journey? Think about it from their perspective, through the lens of your customer, not through the lens of you trying to build your business. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay, cool. Are there any questions? Is this a question opportunity? I'm going to keep rolling. So we're going to talk about welcoming and onboarding. This is where when a customer comes in, you really want to, and a lot of times you'll enroll a lot of people and maybe you don't take that time, doTERRA sends out the welcome message. You really want to send out your own, maybe create a welcome video, invite them to a community. The success rate is much higher when you create a space where, a lot of times a community or building your tribe, whatever resonates most with you, you want to invite them to that space. You want to remind them of why they're there. So if they enrolled because they wanted to really lean into natural health, you want to just remind them of that. Share something personal about your story or about, why you started leaning into natural solutions. And again, be yourself, be authentic, Authenticity and loyalty go hand in hand. The more authentic you are, the more people want to follow you and lean in because they really see you for you. And set expectations and give them an avenue to answer questions and comment. You might direct them back to your community. You really want to think about the end in mind, like leveraging yourself. If you have, as you build, what's going to be the easiest way for you to be able to maintain that communication in a way that you can structure and still build without feeling overwhelmed. Okay, the second piece is educate and empower. This is where you want to share product knowledge. You want to show them how to use it. And the worst thing that can happen is that you sell somebody something and then they don't know how to use it. And as Melina said, their kit goes in a closet and they don't open it. So when you touch them and you drip on them and talk to them about how LRP works, there's a lot of acronyms today, and LRP to somebody who's new doesn't really mean a lot. So you want to watch the jargon and things that are innate to the doTERRA language, and really remember, step into the perspective of somebody new. They don't know what LRP is. So really, how can you support them understanding LRP and how they can maximize the use of their membership? Loyalty, the loyalty orders, the membership. And then also this is a great place where you can give them recipes, pet care, tips, cleaning, green cleaning. This is where you want to add value and show them how they can use their oils in their everyday living. The next piece is engage and encourage. You want to ask people for testimonials. You'd be surprised at how many people are out there already talking about how awesome you are, and we just don't ask for that. I don't really remember a time anywhere where I've asked for a testimonial, whether it was my business or somebody else's, and they said, no, how dare you ask me for that? So it's really something, if you haven't done that, just make that a goal for this week to ask 2 or 3 people for testimonials. You'd be surprised, really. Share your success stories or protocols from yourself or other users. This is where you can ask them, like, hey, what have you used in the past month that's really worked or been amazing? And then you can share that into your community. A great way to do that is use a tool is a survey. Google Forms is free, and you can use that as a way to collect information about their favorite oils or what they've used, or even you can even use the Google Forms to have them submit their testimonials electronically, save you time. Ask questions in your community and group platforms, whether you have a Facebook group or it's just a community platform. There's tons out there. So whatever you're using is fine. Keep using it. Just make sure that you engage. A really great community is one where you don't really even have to do that much. They are helping and supporting each other. That's kind of the end goal when you get to a space of a community that's really working. And then run a contest or create an opt-in or learn more opportunity. Engaging and encouraging is a really great place to be because that's where organic testimonials come in and people want to share and become advocates. The next phase is offers an opportunity. So because we're creating this journey for customers and we're sharing the product and they're building trust and you're establishing yourself as the authority on the product, it's an opportunity for you to just sprinkle in a little bit about sharing or building and talk to them about, maybe share a story of another person or yourself and just sprinkle that in. It's not something that you want to do very often. Again, this is just 2 to 3 times a year that you want to put this out there, but this is where we really get people to level up. They've been using the product, they feel great about it, and then they might, in the beginning, what is it, 85% of all builders at one time were customers. So you really want to keep that in mind and give them the opportunity to level up. And last piece is educate. Oh, sorry. This is like a cycle. I know it's showing linear, but it's really a cycle. So after you've done those offers and opportunity, you want to then go back into educate and empower, engage and encourage. And you want to kind of keep repeating that cycle. I do want to give you a couple quick tips. A lot of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, this is a lot. Like, how could I write all of the copy for all of this stuff? And what do I put it in? And how do I communicate it? Most of you have probably one-off emails and sent a welcome email or created a video or just sent, emails here and there. I bet if you went back and you just pulled a lot of the stuff that you've already created, you would already have most of this in place. So I would think of using the pieces and tools that you have And then it doesn't always have to be you. You have really amazing leaders and people in your upline that maybe they have a great LRP video, and you can use that in your copy. I mean, you want to use your own stuff, but you also want to be able to not reinvent the wheel, and use the pieces that are around you. I think I'm finished with that. Melina?
Awesome, Denny. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
So I really love her run through that she had there. I don't know what our, yeah, okay. So I love the way that Denny ran through the simple process of really just supporting our customers, right? Because I believe that our culture in doTERRA is really one that strives to ensure that we have proper support for everybody that we have stewardship over. And so our vision is truly that we can serve everyone that joins our team. Nobody ever buys oils that sit on their shelf because they don't know how to use them. My goal today is to look through organizations, find those that maybe have fallen through the cracks or aren't being served. And you guys, this doesn't mean that you need to build your downline's business for them. This is about combing through your organization to uncover any of those hidden gems, maybe the diamonds in the making that just need a little bit of TLC, or even those that are just struggling with their family's health and they don't know exactly how to use their oils and they need some more guidance there. What Denny was referring to with a majority of the of today's leaders being customers was when I spoke at Diamond Day a couple years ago. I did both East Coast and West Coast, and I had all of the diamonds in the room stand up who had initially just enrolled in doTERRA for the products. It was at least 80, maybe 85% of the diamonds, blue diamonds, and presidential diamonds. And so it's super important for you to understand that just because someone's a customer today does not mean that they're a customer forever, right? It means they're kind of in that customer place, and then they could go to becoming a sharer, and then they could go to becoming a builder, but we want to meet them where we're at. And I sort of look at these three phases somewhat like, I guess, dating, or like you've got acquaintances, let's say. So the customers are kind of your acquaintances. Maybe they come to a party that you're hosting with some mutual friends, and you just kind of want to make sure that they've got drinks or they're comfortable. Maybe you make a couple introductions and help them find where the restrooms are. You're just kind of making sure they're comfortable and that they're having a good time, enjoying, so that they want to come back to the next party. They're going to tell their friends, right? Now, the sharer part is, oh, it's not moving my slide. Hold on. It has stopped moving my screen. Let me try it down here. Okay, there we go. So for our sharers, you guys, this is more going to be the dating and the courting area kind of our social life. And when somebody says that they're interested in sharing, then this would be like, that person you met at the party that you kind of hit it off, they want to hang out more. You're not going to make it really difficult for, them to meet up with you again. You want to make it really simple, very easy, very fun. But you're also not going to be on your first or second date and talk about like, oh, how many kids do you want to have? I've always wanted a June wedding. Do you like June weddings? If we go overboard, then, or come on too strong, then we really will shut them down. And I think, you guys, that this happens so much with our sharers. I think we kind of understand customers and we understand builders, but there is a huge spectrum in between that is just those that are sharing. And again, there might be those casual courting relationships where you hang out every once in a while, and there might be some really consistent dating relationships where you're almost together every day. And this is the same with sharers, right? We have some that just casually, it's more of a hobby. They might, refer people to you. They might invite people to a class. They might, basically just as it's convenient. But if it becomes overwhelming or too much work, or you come on way too strong, then they're going to be afraid to do anything more, because then you're going to start talking about them making, writing a list and getting on all these webinars and getting on all these trainings. And it's our responsibility to make this as easy as possible for our sharers, okay? So the main way that I differentiate a sharer and a builder is based on their commitment, right? They could be on LRP and they couldn't. There's some sharers that are not really on LRP. They'll host a class and place an LRP that month, and then they might not host a class for another 6 months. And then there are some that will. So like I said, there's that wide spectrum, just like there's a wide spectrum of people that, you know, you're dating. It might be a really serious relationship or maybe not. We want to, you know, some are going to be very consistent with events and enrollments and some are not. But the main thing is really what is their goal? It's important for us to establish with the sharers, are they just trying to get their oils paid for? Is that all? Like if we can get them their 250, are they kind of tapped out there? Are they wanting to create an extra residual income, but their life is so full of other things, so it's more just a side gig, it's more of a hobby to them that they show up when it's convenient and when it's fun, but it's not really, they're not really showing up and, you know, going through all of the webinars and going through all the trainings. And when we start putting all that training and mentoring and things like that on them, it can become too heavy and overwhelming that it shuts them down as well. So it's really important that you identify what their goals are, what's their why, what do they enjoy about this business, and we want to respect that. So I have a gal on my team, she's a Blue Diamond today, but I remember some of the people on her team came to me saying like, can you talk to her? We really are supposed to, you said we're supposed to look at, you know, duplication and keep our events simple. And she stayed up until 1 in the morning creating these pretty centerpieces with like pretty rocks and oil, like bottles of oil in the middle, and she was tying ribbons around them. And, you know, that's really not duplicatable. And she's spending so much time there. And I just said like, okay, let's take a step back. Yes, as a builder, you do want to be mindful of what you're doing being duplicatable, but you also want to be mindful of what lights people up. And for this specific leader, what really, like, she loved putting on events. She loved getting people together. She loved creating the environment with centerpieces and whatever else. So we never want to suck the fun out of it for them, especially when people are our sharers. We're just, whatever they have fun doing, let's let them do it. We want to make sure they know, you know, it's really not necessary. We keep everything really simple. You don't have to remodel your house to host a class, because we do not want them to feel overwhelmed, but we don't want to take out the part that they might think is really fun. And for some people, it's just like having it's more of a social aspect for them. There are many people that might say that they're builders and they are in fact sharers. Maybe there's some people on your team that you treat like a builder, but they're actually sharers as well. And I think that this is really important to understand so that you can support them and communicate with them effectively as where they are right now, instead of overwhelming them with things that they might not be up for. And you guys, I think this is so, so important that we do this correctly, because 9 years ago, when I had my first class, like, that really set the pace for me. But I know a couple people enrolled in my first year, and they were like very, very slight sharers. And today we have Blue Diamonds and Presidential Diamonds that really were just kind of supportive friends that enrolled to support me and then hosted a class here or there. But you have, if I all of a sudden put all of these burdens and responsibility on them, then I think that might have shut them down. So we continue to invite, and we just really drip opportunities on them little by little. And we take the responsibility of making it simple for them. So there's a couple things that we want to do as we're launching our sharers. So we really want to make it, like I said, as easy as possible for them. So this means that we're giving them a checklist, because you guys, since there are different levels of sharers, there's going to be some where like they're happy to invite people, but that's all. So we want to make it really clear what they're going to take care of before the event to prep, and what you're going to take care of. So there's no questions, there's no overwhelm. Being really clear, you guys, is actually very kind, right? So we want to do that. We also want to make sure that we're making it easy for their class to be successful. If people don't know how to invite and they say they're going to host a class and they just send out a mass Facebook event invite or a mass email, and that's all they do, then it might be a very awkward situation for them when you show up to teach the class and they have one person there. So if it's an awkward situation, then it's not going to be something they're going to be very excited to do again. So having that checklist. And I like to do things like offer an RSVP incentive. So like a drawing for anybody that RSVPs. So they actually do get a response for who is committed to going. And then I have them turn that RSVP list to me. And about a day or so before, I will call. So let's say like Denny was hosting a class for me. I might call and say, "Hi, Mandy, this is Melina with doTERRA, and I'm calling because I see that you RSVP'd for Denny's class on Wednesday," or I guess today's Wednesday, on Friday, right? And I'm so excited to get together and talk about essential oils, but I wanted to make sure, because there's so many different topics that I can cover, I really want to ensure that I'm covering the areas that you're most interested in. Are there any specific things regarding essential oils you're looking to learn, or do you have any specific health concerns you're wanting to support, so that I can kind of cater my message to you? And you guys, it really doesn't matter what her response is. The response, by the way, is never compliant, but I'll have like a piece of paper and my pen, and she might say, "Oh my gosh, I've had such bad back pain, and you know, I get migraine," or whatever. So I'm just going to write it down. I'm not going to go into talking to her about it. I'm just going to write it down and say, "Okay, awesome, Denny," or Amanda, I guess it was that I called. "Mandy, I've got some really great information for you. I can't wait to meet you on Friday. And in fact, I have a little gift for you." Okay. Or maybe her answer says, "You know, I don't know. Denny just told me there would be food, and so I just respect her and I'm coming." Right? I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say, "Okay, well, Mandy, I've got some really great information for you. In fact, I have a little gift for you, and I'm so looking forward to meeting you." So it's super simple, because not only now have they RSVP'd, but now I've also personally called them and have kind of made another connection with them. We're basically elevating the level of flakiness that they would have to be at to not show up. Because a lot of times something sounds good, but it comes to that night and, you know, it's just cold outside, or you haven't made dinner yet, or there's something good on TV, who knows? People can flake out. But the more we heighten that flakiness level, the more out they're going to show up, right? It also creates a basis of relationship, so that when Amanda walks in the room, I might say, "Oh, Amanda, I'm so glad you're here. It's great meeting you. In fact, here's a little gift I have with some deep blue sample for you. Why don't you go put it on that shoulder that you said was bothering you?" And so we can have a connection before the class even starts, which helps us as far as our enrollment process. And then if Denny turns around and she's like, "Man, all these people just enrolled," then it can make a huge difference. So when I first started, I lived 6 hours away from my upline. And so my upline and her upline, Brianne Hovey and Alicia Hovey, they drove out to Las Vegas, and I had a class on Friday night and Saturday morning. And I had also just been in Utah and had talked to my sister about it. And so like she bought a diamond kit, and we enrolled about 12 people. And my first fast start check was $700, which I know is not the average. So if that didn't happen to you, that's okay. The point that I'm trying to illustrate is my husband had a multi-million-dollar company. I was not out here looking for a business to start. I just thought, these oils are awesome. Why doesn't every mom have them? Or this would be great for all the massage therapists I know. So I was willing to host a class and thought it was, you know, exciting. Now, if I had hosted a class and had one person show up, I don't know that I would have continued to host. But because I had such an awesome experience, and I knew that my upline was 100% committed to building this business, they weren't double diamond or triple diamond at this point. They had been enrolled for a month, and Brianne had been enrolled for a month, and Elise for a month before that. So what I knew, though, was that they were 100% committed to building this business. And so I was confident in kind of going down that path with them, even though it wasn't something I had been looking for. And because of that experience, that's what led me into hosting classes or teaching classes every Thursday. At my husband's office building, every Thursday, I would go and teach classes for that whole first year. And having that positive start off where I was already had my oils paid for from the very beginning, and I really started enjoying and had fun getting together and teaching these classes and watching the impact that they had in other people's lives, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't for any other reason than I liked doing it. and that's what carried me through the times when I showed up to teach a class and nobody else showed up, including the time like 3 months into my business where I flew to London to teach a class and nobody showed up. But because I had that positive experience in that foundation, it kept me going. And then little by little, things started to grow. And then when we completely lost my husband's business, I was in a position to go, well, I think if I really focused on this, I could build a business and transition from there, as well as a lot of my team did too. But I want us to really remember that sharers, we are the ones responsible for them being successful at sharing. They are not on trainings. They do not know all the scripts. They do not know all the protocols. That's what we're here for. So we really want to help walk them through a very simple, very easy process. I let them know I'm bringing all the supplies. I'll bring the materials. You just need to worry about inviting people. And I give them kind of some examples of how to do that. If there are people that are far away too, and so you're thinking like, I don't know how to support them, I was just going to send them a class in the box, then you might want to, what I've done before with people is just they make a list and get some elements, and I'll ship out samples to their whole like, you know, class, and then we can do an online Zoom class. Or they'll enroll with whatever kit they enrolled with, and they have their oils there at their class, and they can invite everybody over to their house, and then I can get on a Zoom and teach a class through Zoom while they're all in the living room, they're passing around the oils. So there's other ways that you can support these sharers. And so that's really just what I wanted us to take a look at, is just what are we doing? What is our role in supporting these sharers and meeting them where they're at, and not overwhelming them with like the compensation plan or placements or structure, all of these building things that you would really reserve for somebody that says, I want to build, tell me everything. So speaking of that, we're going to move on to Amanda. And Amanda really is over for our team. She takes care of all of our retention and duplication. She runs our program. So she's really our retention specialist and works a lot with our builder support process. So we're really happy to have Amanda on. Amanda, are you there?
Yes, hi. All right, everyone. So like Melina was talking about earlier, you want to watch the little things so a small leak will not sink your ship. So we are going to transition to the next slide. Just a moment, in there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's talk about numbers. Now, before we hop into that, let's check on how you can know your some of your statistics of your retention. So you're going to want to click on your Wellness Advocate Services tab and go to genealogy and then your summary genealogy. Once you get there, then you have an option to go up to like 100 levels. But for this example, we'll just go to 7. Once you insert that, then it will show you the number of members and the total active members and give you that percentage. Now, I believe the percentage is of retention for doTERRA is 64%. Is that correct, Melina?
Yeah, I mean, it depends if we're looking on global, like annually or but we are 65%, we're 80% if we just look at annually.
Gotcha. So in this example, you can see that the percentage of active members is 38%. So that's not ideal, but that's why it's important to just check in your back office and make that challenge for yourself to up that number. So we'll review the next slide, which is how to calculate the builders percentage within your organization. So you're going to take your rank, premier, and above number and divide that by your wellness advocates, the numbers there. If you look to the right, you can see there is a funnel that's purple. That's where you get your wellness advocate number. And you divide that and get that percentage. Now, Melina is definitely the pro at this. And so she was just kind of teaching me about these things. And so she may tag team in here every once in a while if she wants to add some stuff. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so let's talk about canceled LRP, how you can look at that percentage. So you're going to take your canceled LRP number and then divide that by the members within your organization to get that percentage. And those are just a few simple tips on how you can just set goals for yourself every month and in your retention.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. And you guys, I think it's important that we look at these numbers, especially as your organization gets larger and larger, because I have been guilty of feeling like I'm growing because my volume is growing, and we have a lot of amazing leaders in our team that at this point are in our 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th levels, where they've got large organizations. They're enrolling like crazy. And so we really started tracking our 7 levels, and we started tracking our GQV, which is not just our overall team volume, but our global qualified volume, where when you're looking on your PDF of your commission summary, if you go down to the bottom of your unilevel, you'll see what that GQV is. And that's a really important number to look at and see if that number is growing, right? Now, if you're like below, diamond, if you're kind of in the lower ranks, more than likely, most of your stuff is still going to be applicable when it's in that overall volume. But when you get to diamond and above, you're going to start to get volume and growth that is beyond your reach, which we still love, we still support. However, it can be misleading sometimes as to where we're at. So we do want to look at these numbers as well as what our GQV is. And the reason why we want to look at that premier number as well is because, you guys, these are people that have said, hey, I want to build this business. I know that when we started offering the wholesale customer option, that anybody that didn't have a downline or hadn't enrolled anybody was transferred into that. So wellness advocates, these are people that have at one time at least enrolled one person or had one person placed underneath them or have upgraded. And so we do really want to look at how have we supported them in achieving that. So the challenge that I want you guys to walk away from today is to look at increasing that overall retention in your team. What things can you put in place that Denny talked about to create kind of that process that gives them that community? Or what can you do to get those testimonials that really create social proof for those that are in your community? What seeds can you plant that help them want to get on LRP or learn about oils with pets or other things? So really kind of go through that for your customers, and what can you do in helping your sharers so that we can increase that builder percentage. Now notice we're just looking at premiers and above, because people can be elite by just enrolling one person who takes off and they don't do anything. So really premier is where we look at they're considered a strong sharer or a builder, right? And so what things can we put into place to help those in that building process? We do have our next rank pro for the launch to elite and like training to premier, and that launches every month. So you can take a lot of that support off of you for those that are wanting to launch their business, so that you can spend time just honing in on the skills and answering any questions, but you don't have the responsibility to necessarily train them on all of that. And then along with that overall retention comes into place the LRP percentage, because retention is calculated by those who have ordered in the last 3 months. So as we decrease those canceled LRPs, then it's going to obviously affect our overall retention. So those are the things that I want you to look at And if you guys have any questions, you can post in this video on the Facebook Live. I see a few people on there. Hi, Carrie, Shirley, Pam, but I don't see any questions. So if we have any, then just go ahead and post them and we'll come back and respond if there's any tips that we can give you in supporting your retention and your duplication for these 3 categories. So thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we will talk to you next time. There we go. And